the Pledge of Allegiance. Andy, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Mark Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Glenn Gunn.
Here.
Councilmember Wanda Schwer.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Nicholas Pavoris.
Here.
Mayor Leslie Ford Notero.
Here.
City Manager Lynn Reeves.
Here.
Finance Officer Melanie Cruzona.
Here.
City Attorney Paul Marino.
Here.
And Councilmember John Petrowski was unable to attend.
Thank you. First item, the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, additions?
I have some comments. On the agenda, there was a notation of the comments of Lynn Reeves and Terry Henley. And Terry Henley's his experience in detail that he expressed, I reviewed the tape, was just not detailed in the minutes.
Excuse me, we're only approving the agenda, not the
Oh, I'm
minutes.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay. Anything on the agenda? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next item, the approval of the March 5th, 2018 minutes and the March 19th special city council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
There's my comment, I apologize. You got the comment. I just think that we should probably modify the minutes to more include accurately what Terry expressed as his experience. Because that's all that most of us as residents saw was what he talked about in the meeting.
Okay, I know Patty listened to the meeting. Shall we put those off and approve them at the next, can we bypass them and approve those meetings at the next minutes, next meeting?
I think we can just amend them and ask Patty to make more detail, approve them with Councilmember Shirley's comments.
Sure. I think that's okay.
All right. With that addition, any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approval? Aye. Opposed? 3, citizens' comments. Each speaker will be recognized once and will be limited to a 3-minute presentation on any subject that is not on the agenda. Are there any citizens that would like to comment? Yes, ma'am. If you'll come up and state your name and address.
Martha Matthews Vasquez, 2500 Gulf Boulevard. I am the lead for the next door neighborhood for Bel Air Beach, and there has been a lot of discussion and a desire for a lot of the people on that site to have social so that Bel Air Beach residents can get to know each other again. I know it was done in the past and had stopped, so I just wanted to put the word out there. I'm looking for people to help me get that organized, and I would appreciate it if anyone is available to do that. If they can reach me at martha@marthavasquez.com. I'm on the internet everywhere, so appreciate any help.
Thank you. Or on the Bel Air Beach, next door Bel Air Beach.
Next door Bel Air Beach, and if you're not on next door Bel Air Beach, contact me and I'll get you on.
Okay, thank you. Any other citizens? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for all your service. It was one of the things.
We need name and address for the record.
Oh, you guys don't know? Jane Goldman, 437 22nd Street. I would just like to offer one thing about the fact that LifeLink was asking for our participation as a community to talk about organ donation.
Excuse me, that's on the agenda.
Oh, I didn't realize that, but this is a personal thing, so it's not on an agenda. So thank you for letting me just say my 5 cents. We've all accomplished a lot, from ordinances to petitions to community legal proceedings. But the one thing that I think makes the most powerful statement is us as a community. And I believe that organ donation is very important. So many of you know, or may not know, my husband is a 22-year organ transplant recipient of a heart. We've worked really hard. He's a vibrant member of the community. He's offered a lot to everybody in this room. And so I believe that we should pay attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Booth, 2611 Bay Shore Drive. I've been here 4 years, and I've been, I attended a council meeting here probably 3 years ago, and I got fed up with it because nothing gets done. We have no code enforcement, none. I had to call the police on the code enforcement. I called up to get, there was a house being built next to me. Nothing was done. I had to get a dumpster in there. Jack White was off for 2 months. There was no follow-up. There was no one picking up his voicemail. No one picked up anything. That's not what I'm paying taxes for here. And I tell you what, I applaud the new 4 people because we needed to drain the swamp. It was ridiculous. Nothing got done. I come to a council meeting, I argue, have a problem with waste management. Right after I bring up my problem with waste management, they do the contract for another 2 years. So I want to say, in September, when it's due, because that's the last time I was here, I want competitive bids, and I'd like to have you look at only once a week garbage pickup and once again recycling and save us some money, because it's ridiculous. With recycling, nobody puts out a lot of garbage. Let's start inspecting the waterways, the docks, the decks that are falling to pieces. I have a house next to me where it's termite infested. There's animals living underneath it. Nothing gets done. Let's see. I'm just really upset with code enforcement. I mean, the reason everyone comes to Bel Air Beach is because how beautiful it is. And if you look at some of these homes that have been let go, it's ridiculous, and nothing ever gets done. I don't know what the code enforcement guy does. The other thing I'd like to know is, does everyone here, and I know all the council people, and I applaud you for taking this on because it's not going to be pleasant, I don't think. Does everyone live in Bel Air Beach on this dais? Everyone?
I used to,
But you don't now.
over in Largo.
Oh, okay. Well, then I recommend that anyone being on the council or city attorney should live in Bel Air Beach.
I don't think there
Makes
are
sense to me.
qualified city attorneys in Bel Air Beach.
Well, let's find out.
Any other citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
Evening. My name is Cheryl Rawlings. I live at 3108 Wedgwood. You have to hear me now. I'm a little scared. I have a code enforcement issue on my street. I don't know if you were issued an email today from me about a bed and breakfast. There's a brand new neighbor across the street from me, and she's a realtor. She does other bed and breakfasts as her occupation. And at 3105 Wedgwood, every night a new guest shows up. And I only found out last Thursday, so in the last 4 nights there's been 4 new guests. And she lets them in a private entrance in the back, and they rent out the master bedroom. And I thought you had to have 90-day rentals in Bel Air Beach.
Is that the ordinance?
It's like,
It is 90 days.
and I thought,
We have been trying to get on top of this willful and deliberate violation of our ordinances dealing with the limitation on rentals. And people are just dealt with it as though it doesn't exist. I am personally suggesting that instead of just issuing our civil citations, that our new marshal, who is a cop by definition, should start arresting people and charging them with a notice of violation, a notice to appear, in essence, which is a criminal violation, and let the county judge deal with this on the basis of a willful violation. It's really a difficult problem we've been facing, not only here in Bel Air Beach, but in other similar communities that have limitations. We were very fortunate that we got in under the wire and under the window so that we have a limitation of, I think, 6 months, 3 months, in which to lease properties. And the only way, in my opinion, as a 26-year law enforcement officer, and that is to start making some examples of people, criminally.
Now, our ordinance, is it civil or criminal though? I mean,
Our ordinance is civil, but it can be criminal. If you look at section 1-15 in the front end of the code, we can charge people criminally for violation of a city ordinance.
I'm sure a lot of residents aren't familiar with the ordinance, so I think we need to educate everyone in the city, hey, listen, you know, this enough is enough before we start arresting people. I wouldn't carry it that far. But again, I'm sure people listen to the state statutes that have changed and feel, hey, this probably relates to us as well. So I think we really need to educate the residents of Bel Air Beach that this will not be tolerated.
Doctor, this 1-15 has been in existence for years, for 20 years. Not only that, but the administration has done everything in its power to communicate with all of these people and tell them unequivocally. And we've used every vehicle available to us to tell these people, you just do not lease these properties for under 3 months.
What have you done so far?
Ask the
Ask
city
your
manager.
education.
If anyone that rents property within the city has to do a rental registration, okay? They pay that fee annually. If it isn't paid, then it's $100, and then after that it goes to $200. It's not paid, okay?
But she's only renting out one room.
You can't.
While she's
rent.
and she does this.
Okay, we'll get on it
And
immediately.
I'm aware of this because you sent me an email today, and
It's just that the traffic has been, well, we noticed, we live on a little quiet cul-de-sac, and every night a different license plates in the driveways. We thought she had a lot of company, but it's a lot of company. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is-
Anyone else in the audience wish to?
Can I suggest one thing, is it that our penalties are not,
Ask for a time for
have no teeth to them, $100?
We'll look at the ordinance and see what we need to do to, we can get them for, maybe we get them for not paying the county bed tax. You're supposed to pay the county every time you rent something out, even if it's a room in your house.
Her checkout is to 11 a.m., so the cars are always gone. They're mostly there at night, because they're out and about doing things at the beach, and so if you go during the day, the guest cars aren't there, but they come back at night.
All right, thank you.
Not only that,
Anyone
but
else?
that the chief judge in the Pinellas Circuit has set the fine level under administrative order. So those are fixed by the court.
Anyone else, any other citizens wish to? Okay, seeing no one, citizens' comments will be closed. Item number 4, the consent agenda. The proclamation of National Service Recognition Day for the AmeriCorps, and as Mrs. Goldman mentioned, the organ donation ordinance to designate April as Donate Life Month. Do I have a motion to approve these 2 proclamations?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They are approved. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of ordinance 1803. Paul?
Yes, ma'am, this is an ordinance, the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, codifying the seal of the City of Bel Air Beach, providing for penalty, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, do I have a motion for ordinance 1803?
So moved.
Second? We do a motion, then a second, and then we talk about it.
That's fine, so I second.
Okay. Any discussion about 1803?
Mayor, back in 2005 and 6, there was a discussion about eliminating the existing logo that we have on the back wall. And there was a contest in the city taken, and somebody won that contest, and I think Mr. Marino did something to protect that contest winner's logo so nobody else would use it. At that time, the city wanted to change the logo from what you see on the back wall to a new one. That was during the change in government. But to go further on the discussion, we have a city seal, and the seal is used on all of our important papers. So what are we trying to do? We have a seal and we have a logo.
Well, this came about because, this is what the city uses on its papers. We've got, the stamp seal, if you will. But this is what the city uses on all of its stationery, all of its brochures, and we wanted to protect it so that people can't use it and maybe confuse people that something that this logo on it was coming from the city. I know there was some confusion recently regarding that.
May I qualify the term logo? For over 20 years, maybe 30 or 40 years, what you have back here has not been a logo, it's been a seal. Every municipal corporation has two seals. They have the corporate seal because a city is a municipal corporation under the laws of Florida. They have a seal that reads established 1951, whatever, City of Bel Air Beach. Then those cities also adopt their city seal. I want to pass out to you, if I might, just to qualify this once and for all. Please pass these down. This is the city seal, and I want the record to reflect that what I'm giving out to council right now is the city seal for the city of Port Richey that I developed in 1995. And you're going to find that all the cities have two things: a corporate seal, which is what they use for the seal documents, and a city seal. And what we have here is a city seal, not a logo. What was on the patch, for example, of the police department here many years ago was more of a logo. So I want you to understand that this is a seal, not a logo, and I am recommending that it be adopted for record. We have had, for the past 30, 40 years, what I would call a de facto seal, a seal in fact. I want to see it like we did with Port Richey, under the same circumstances, a de jure seal, which means one by law. So I'm asking this council to pass this because it should be done for record. And I don't understand why there's any resistance to it. Again, this is not any kind of a logo. And back in 2005, 2006, what we had was a contest to change the seal. If you look up the minutes of that, change the seal. And everybody said, no, we're not going to change it, leave it alone. So there's no question that it's got a history as a city seal. I'm asking this council to codify this, and I'm asking that at least the record reflect that I've given you a copy of Port Richey's ordinance and code showing their city seal, just like the ordinance you have in front of you.
Mr. Marino, back in 2005, it was only mentioned as a logo, not as a seal. If you look up the paper.
Beg to differ, but that's okay, sir.
Mr. Marino, real quickly, so this was never adopted officially?
This was not adopted as an ordinance, it was adopted as a definition under what would be 165, whatever the section is. So this was adopted as the city seal. It doesn't have to be codified to be the seal.
So So it was never officially adopted. That's
Was adopted by act of this council over and over and over again as the official city seal.
So why are we officially adopting it again?
Because now let's codify it, because there's always this question about logo versus seal, and I'm suggesting, like we did in Port Ritchie, I'm suggesting that we codify it for record once and for all.
So it's never been codified.
To my knowledge, it has.
And the state statute requires that for the city to shall, I say, enforce, protect itself, the city seal has to be adopted by ordinance. And this is kind of a crossing your T's and dotting your I's move. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. Does it mean at the previous city council meeting, you were pretty up in arms because someone used the city logo?
You know, I wasn't up in arms.
Well, you
One of
referred to
the
the
former
state
council
attorney.
member was concerned about it.
Sure, well, I think someone mentioned that it was referred to the state attorney's office, was it not?
Yes, as a matter of fact, former council member, Mitch Cronk, when he asked me whether or not this was permissible, and I informed him, based on my reading of the state statute, no, it wasn't, but it's up to the state attorney or the sheriff's office to deal with it. It wasn't up to us to do it. It was at that time, at the last meeting, when he wasn't present, that he asked that an ordinance be developed to codify it once and for all.
So let me just break it down in lay terms. Because it wasn't codified at that point, then that's the reason you didn't want to refer it to the state attorney's office.
No, I didn't refer it to the state attorney's office. I said that when there is a potential violation of a provision of law, you refer to the appropriate authority, whoever that might be, supervisor of elections, the attorney, what have you. And I merely cited the law back to Councilman Cronk.
I see. So it was never referred.
I don't know what happened to it.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure we don't open the city up to a lawsuit if it hasn't been codified. I mean, that's my concern.
The city was not involved in this matter, to my knowledge.
That's good enough for me. That's fine.
But it's been, I had this discussion with Lynn Reeves earlier today, and the sheriff's department has referred it to the state's attorney's office. And my assumption is that we have one resident who has used this inappropriately. I know of another that was formerly a council member that you would have used it inappropriately as well. And if we're going to start going after citizens for using this, that's something we need to, I believe, address the state's attorney's office and say that we're not, that we are, there's no enforceability here.
Paul, let me answer this. The statute requires that it has to have been adopted by ordinance in order to be officially enforced under, punishable as a second-degree misdemeanor. The city never adopted it by ordinance, so those are moot issues, really. And we're trying, as I said, to make up for maybe what was an error, something that just, we thought it was okay, but it wasn't. So that's what we're,
Well, in an effort to undo what council has done previously, I think a letter needs to come from the city to the state's attorney's office, explain that.
For 13 years? We don't know what we're
Any
doing.
other discussion on that? Yes, Lynn?
I think the most disturbing thing was at the previous council meeting, when we had this discussion that kind of precipitated this draft ordinance, was we put the cart before the horse and you immediately reverted to the sheriff's office, knocking on people's doors, without taking a look at the legal aspects of this thing and its enforceability. So now all of a sudden we're backtracking and trying to fill in. But the most disturbing thing to me was how it immediately got escalated to the sheriff's office and referral to the attorney general's office.
Mr. Glenn, nobody on this council, to my knowledge, we didn't get involved in making accusations against anyone. I answered a former city council member as to what I thought the law was dealing with a city seal.
Well, we could go back and play the tape, but I think there were specific quotes about a sheriff's office investigation into the matter.
There may very well be. I mean, that's up to the
What is the
sheriff's office.
status of that official sheriff's office?
I don't know. I have the slightest idea what it is.
I don't think it went anywhere. In part because we didn't have it adopted by ordinance.
But again, I'm getting even more confused right now. Who referred this matter to the sheriff's office?
Nobody referred it to the sheriff's office. I sure didn't refer it to the
The
sheriff's
sheriff
office.
just picked it out of the air?
Oh, what happened was, it was referred to, somebody made an inquiry to the state attorney's office. And the state attorney said, tell it to the sheriff's office. So the sheriff's taking a look at it.
But who was they?
I don't know.
It was someone who got this,
I mean,
who got a document that was using the city seal that wasn't from the city.
but I mean, was it an official city person or was it a citizen? I mean, who was involved? Who was the they? That's who I just
There
want
was one citizen that had some serious concerns about it.
And they were the they that referred it to?
I don't know whether they were.
So that's,
I was under the impression it was Mitch.
Pardon?
I was under the impression from a previous conversation it was Mitch, but I didn't.
yeah, so,
It may have been him, I don't know.
So again, it's back to the city should just undo what has been done and write a letter to the president, write a letter to the state's attorney, and be done with it.
And again,
pardon?
going back to 2006, it was designated a logo. So if we're going to change it from this day forward,
I'm sorry.
This is the
I'm sorry.
seal, is what it's talking about.
That, it's never been designated as a logo.
there's a newspaper article that states it. I could get it.
Yeah, like newspapers and the truth, the way and the light.
Well, it came from here.
Okay, any comments from the audience? Any more discussion from council, or can we call for a vote?
Put a time frame on it.
1803.
Put a time frame on it when it's gonna get done.
Pardon?
Put a time frame on it when these things are gonna get done. What's wrong with that? It's been 13
Excuse
years.
me, sir.
Yes?
If you're going to talk, come up to the podium, and on this subject.
Can we have a time frame when this will get done? Because it's been 13 years, obviously. 13 years. Is it going to be another 13? Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be tomorrow? Put a time frame on it.
With everything that you do.
Patty, you ready?
Mayor?
Call the roll. Yes, sir.
One more thing, the Florida statute talks about a county or municipal seal, so I guess I'm a little confused here. Will we still have the corporate seal in addition to this being a municipal seal?
Every city has 2 seals usually. This city, Port Richey, has 2 seals. One is its corporate seal because it's a municipal corporation that it just usually reads City of Bel Air Beach established or enacted such and such a year. And that's the corporate seal. This is the city seal. This is the one we use on everything else.
Okay, so this is the corporate seal,
Yeah,
and this is what we want to make municipal seal.
that's what has been the municipal seal for more than 30 years that I know of.
So the Florida statute covers the municipal seal, which will be
City
this.
seal.
City seal.
Cover that as well. As soon as we pass this ordinance.
The
right?
Florida legislature would never enact a law for using that impression seal improperly, because nobody would use it. It's these kind of things that they're talking about, and I'll be more than glad to have the Attorney General do the research on this to go back to when the legislature enacted 160, is it 5? The enabling legislation, to find out what the legislative intent was. All that stuff is of record in the Florida legislature.
Also, and if you look at the second whereas clause in the ordinance, it talks about variations, it's official seal in addition to the city's corporate seal. So these are 2 different creations. They're not the same thing. That's the corporate seal,
Yes.
and this is the city seal, the official seal of the city. Are we ready to call for a vote? Patty?
You got people like that.
Oh, yes?
Council, Todd Gould, 2180 Louisa Drive. I believe before City Council, since there does seem to be confusion up here, If Mr. Marino would get that report back from the State Attorney General to present it to the council, that you could be voting with informed, I think would be a benefit to this council. Thank you.
Right now, we have a motion for ordinance 1803. We can vote on it. If people want to vote no to say, let's get the information, fine. Otherwise, let's vote on it. Patty, will you call?
Can we move to table this?
You can.
I second it.
All those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Nay? Whatever. Okay, it's tabled. Item number, what's on the next meeting? Item 6, consideration of ordinance 1804. Paul?
It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending parking, stopping, and standing provisions of Article 2, Chapter 58 of the City Code, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I have a motion for ordinance 1804.
Motion approved.
Second. Discussion. Council?
Mayor, I'd like to make a change on this one, and I talked to Lynn earlier today. There's nothing mentioning parking the wrong way on streets.
Mark, if you look at page 4,
Yes, sir.
I think that may correct our discussion today. It says, except as otherwise provided in the start of every vehicle stopped or parked upon a two-way roadway shall be stopped or parked with the right-hand wheels to the right-hand curb. So I think that solves.
Normally that covers on a hill, correct?
It says roadway in here. So that would mean that if you're going down on the outside the road, that your wheels have to,
I guess I'm going back too many years when I had my driver's license.
You have to turn them into the wheel.
Turn it into the curb, but with these curbs and hills,
so that's telling you you can't park on the left side of the street.
okay,
So I think that solves what you and I discussed today.
all right, very good.
Any other discussion from council? Yes?
I haven't seen anything that I'm opposed to. My only question is, I didn't see any background what prompted this.
Well, what prompted it, we went through the codes and there were some things that needed to be changed. It had talked about a police force. This allows, if you have parking enforcement designation in and out, allows a city employee to give a parking citation. It also adjusted the fines, which were evidently over time they had been charging these fines, and I'm just trying to correct it to the correct fines. And that's really all that was majorly changed in it. It was trying to get it so it was more where it should be. The sheriff's department has been charging $35 for a parking ticket, and when you looked at the ordinance, it was another number. But this is correcting that, this is cleaning it up, and eliminating some things that were in there from when we had a police department. That's really all it is. It's housekeeping.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Comments from the audience? Seeing none. Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwer,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pagoris,
Aye.
Mayor Notaro.
Aye. Ordinance 1804 passes 6-0. Item number 7, discussion of removal of pedestrian island at 13th Street crosswalk. Lynn?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this was brought up at the previous council meeting by previous Councilmember Chandler, she asked that we have a discussion about the island at 13th Street because of the problems that there are with getting people turning left. And I'm sure a lot of you saw that over the past weekend. I have discussed this congestion problem with the sheriff's office, and they are looking into some options for us to try to move the traffic a little faster. But this was just something that was brought up, and so I'm bringing it to the council.
Do we have any estimated costs for removing the crosswalk?
No, at this point, it's a discussion item, and it's really, if you want me to proceed with looking into it, it would still leave the crosswalk there. If you want me to not do anything, then it's up to the council.
So we're talking about removing the concrete and landscape island and the trees, but leaving the crosswalk as is.
Right. So it's the pleasure of the council.
Question, would this be, because the county put these in?
It was part of the Gulf Boulevard beautification. And those are things that we have to still research, but if the council doesn't want to proceed with looking into it, then we can move on to other things.
I guess my comment is when traffic is heavy and they're trying to turn left onto Causeway off of southbound Gulf, it can back up a long way and you can't get through if you need to go straight through. And it has been a bit of a traffic hazard.
And you know, there was another suggestion from Councilmember Shirley that she suggested going to the county and asking them to widen the road, because as you just get past it, that lane widens. But I don't know if that'll work or not. That would be a costly project.
As would removing the island, though. It's not an easy fix either.
Right.
Either way you look at it, it's costly. And then I would propose if we did remove it, that it get moved down Gulf Boulevard, so we keep in sync with our beautification process, that we don't remove those trees in that island from Gulf Boulevard, but possibly move them.
There is another issue. If you look at the center, at least people coming from the north can turn into the streets up to 13th. And the people going north that live in Bel Air Shore, at least they have the center lane to use to get into their homes. So it's really convenient from that standpoint from anybody from Bel Air Shores getting into the center medium to go either north or south. And the same thing with Bel Air Beach, using that center lane. It does back up traffic, and I can see your point of widening that lane in that one area. Might help a lot. But as far as removal, we need that center lane to get on and off our areas.
I don't think we're talking about removing the center lane, it's just removing the concrete island and the landscaping. The turn lane was to be that the turn lane will actually end up being
It'll just be moved
Oh,
over.
further north.
True, but then it'll back up all the way to 19th eventually.
It's already backing up to 19.
Well, at least you can get out into the center of the road and eventually get over into the southbound lane. Because for us to go north, forget it. We can never get out of the neighborhood and go north into Clearwater. It's almost an impossibility. But at least if you get into that center lane anywhere from 14th out to 19th, you can get in that center lane and eventually work your way over into that southbound lane.
So you're saying, if we take that out, then the turn lane itself will extend so far north that it takes away the center lane.
Right.
Then you just have to wait for people to be nice to let you turn.
Exactly. I think we should just leave it the way it is.
I think it's worth contacting the county, maybe looking at an opportunity to widen the right lane, so at least you can pass if they're trying to go straight. You know, I mean, it's an option.
Do you want to look into that and see what kind of a cost we're looking at to take it out? Or widen?
To widen, right? Is that what I understood? See if we can widen it back further.
I would look at several options. You know, this was all it's the law of unintended consequences. They beautified Gulf Boulevard and didn't give any thought to the southbound traffic backing up because of the choking off the left turn lane there. If we move it, who knows where it's going to go. So I think we need to look at several options. Look at widening, look at taking it out, look at it changing the duration of the lights. I mean, there's all sorts of different inputs to the equation here, and we should probably take a look at some.
We're gonna have smart lights at that intersection, once they get done right.
Right, I've asked the, Captain Weiner to look at that intersection, especially on Saturday and Sunday, because that's, or a holiday. Because I even thought, you know, is there a way to use our deputy in some of the prime times to run that traffic light and get the traffic out of here? It's usually about, I'll say now with daylight, it's probably somewhere in the 6 to 7 time frame that the exodus is coming from the beach or right after sunset. And it appears that prime time is right around lunch to 2 o'clock. Coming across the bridge, seems to be the most compressed. So my suggestion was, you know, maybe we try to do something with the light for the right turn, because when we as residents are coming back across the bridge, some people stop to turn right, some people kind of look like they're stopping, and then other people just, it's red, doesn't matter, just keep going. So maybe what we need to do is try to do a little more traffic control there, and I've asked the sheriff to look at that. And we are getting a new mask arm, so all of that needs to be in the equation.
Off on a tangent, when is that master arm going to go up? They've got all the foundation down now.
They've told me that it should be done by the first part of May. They have put the crosswalk stanchions in, the new ones. There's still some stuff that Duke has to do there, but for the most part, you know, they're ready to move forward. And I'll ask them if there's any new updates. But the last time I talked to him, and he comes and sees me about once a week, Chris, the guy that's on the project.
So we need to do some more research into this cost, potentially widening the streets, etc. So we'll have that on probably next month as well. Okay. Item number 8, consideration of appointment to the City of Bel Air Beach Board of Adjustment. Patty?
The Board of Adjustment is a 7-member board, and we currently have 5 members with 2 vacant positions and 2 vacant alternate positions. And Mr. Alban applied for the planning board, but they have already met for their main purpose. And so he agreed the Board of Adjustment, and I think Mr. Alban's here, Mr. Alban? But they're,
Right, so he's willing to do Board of Adjustment rather than the planning. Do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Alban to the Board of Adjustment?
Motion to.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Council? Public? All in favor of appointing him to the Board of Adjustment? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, sir. Sorry I'm here. Item number 9, discussion on the installation of a parking station at the community center. Oh, I'm sorry.
At the Park and Recreation's last board meeting, they recommended this, so I'm bringing it to council. I've talked to a couple of you about it. There's a couple options. We have a lot of people that use this facility to park, to go to the beach accesses, to use our facilities. And actually, the chairman of the Park and Recreation Board was here. I spoke to him, Councilman Shirley, and he probably give you some more enlightenment, because he actually lives across the street from that parking lot.
Okay.
Mr. Sample?
Good evening, I'm Robert Sample, 1020 Cedar Drive, and yes, I do look at the parking lot. And as was brought up at the meeting, Mr. Reeves asked the sheriff's office to sort of get an idea of who is parking in our parking lot. And it turned out that the majority of people are not from here. They're not even from Largo. And most of the people that park in that parking lot do one of two things. Go to the beach, circumvent the meter there to go fishing, or walk over the bridge and back. Well, it seems like it just keeps filling up, and they start walking at great hours, early hours in the morning. And anybody got one of those little remotes that locks your car and unlocks your car? Beep, 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 beep. Just what you want to hear at 5 o'clock or 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm retired, so I really don't want to hear it personally. And also, I think it would be a source of revenue for the city. But the key to the whole thing, make it work, the same with the one down here, is enforcement. You gotta ticket the people that don't pay. Now, for people that come here who are residents of the city, they should either have a resident sticker or some way of validating their ability to park without paying. But other than that, I think visitors coming here should pay, because they're not coming in here, they're doing something else on their own time. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments? Lynn, look like you're going to say something.
I have a couple of comments, and I think I'm not opposed to putting meter parking out there, but I do think that we should be considered. I am one of those that parks there at 5:30 in the morning and runs the bridge. Sorry. And yes, I meet my girlfriends who live in Seminole, in Largo, in Bel Air Bluffs, and we run the beach, we run the bridge. I don't think they're parked there for an hour. I don't think that's the same as someone coming to the beach all day and using the space. So I don't know if there's a time frame in which we look at enforceability. You know, we don't face that on the beach side because the gates aren't open yet. They can't access before a certain time. So maybe we have a time, you know, maybe it's daytime hours and holidays, you know, or something like that, that it's enforceable. But I think that's one thing to look at. And curious that the comment was made that everyone that comes and parks here is from Largo. And I have a packet sitting up here about playground equipment, which was just my argument about the playground. Why are we installing playground equipment? I know it's off subject for everyone that lives in Largo. So that's my little thing there. But back to the parking. My thought is that if we do have it, maybe we, kind of like downtown St. Pete does, they don't start enforcing until 9 a.m. or something like that.
I want to say something. Yeah. All right.
Sample, 1020 Cedar Drive. My concern is in probably enforcing parking over here at certain times of the day. All right, you come over here at 5:30 in the morning with your girlfriends, your car alarms go off, you're slamming your doors, you're talking like it's noontime, and this is a residential neighborhood, it's very echoey at 5:30 in the morning, and I really think that there should be probably some kind of control about what time people park here. I don't care if they park here to go to the beach, walk over the bridge, whatever they want to do. To me, my complaint is the time of day. And I think a little consideration for the neighborhood, you know, would be a good idea for people who come here to park at 5:30 in the morning.
Council? Comments?
Well, we talked, pardon me, Lynn and I talked earlier, and I think signage and deciding what time to utilize a parking meter would probably be a good idea. In other words, we could maybe have it from 9 o'clock at night, utilize the meter, or earlier until maybe 5:30 in the morning. And then have different times depending on the weekends. Try to figure out what's the best time to utilize that meter.
That's not something that
I mean, I think there's two issues here. There's one quality of life issue, I think that we're most concerned about, and the other is a revenue issue, which I don't think we're that concerned about. So I think the quality of life issues, I think we should listen to the residents. I mean, they're the ones that are most affected. Yeah, so either we make it a 24-hour, 7 days a week parking meter, or else it's just going to get very confusing. And I mean, for the Ballard Beach residents that use it, I mean, they have a sticker, they know to be considerate. It's for the, the people that live outside the city that don't necessarily, realize that this is a strictly residential community, that they don't really get it. So, I mean, that's my strong feeling.
And we can't close, like we did the beach access things, we can close those gates. We can't close this, during.
Yeah, no, that's why we make it a 24/7. They have to pay around the clock, or else it's just going to get very confusing and not very considerate for the residents.
Would it be possible to cordon off that section of the parking lot so it wouldn't disturb Cedar? No parking in this area, such and such a time.
You still have to put some kind of gate control.
Well, I mean, if signage may work, I don't know, try it.
You have a towing, people will park there if there's a towing sign.
Yeah.
And I looked at that fence, we're not doing a very good job even blocking our trucks and our equipment from Cedars. It's, and not to mention we have a house there, I don't know what that looks like when it's being used, but we're not doing a very good job protecting those residential homes from our kind of commercial use right here.
Could I just say something else, please?
I would just say
I do want to let you know that the residents of Cedar Drive appreciated you putting a fence along the parking lot. But I would ask that you consider extending the fence a little bit further down the street, maybe to that first palm tree, because I really don't need to see some of the stuff that happens in the parking lot at all hours of the day. And then my husband and I do like to sit out on our front stoop, and when it starts to get dark, people pull into the parking lot and they automatically seem to go for those parking spaces right along Cedar Drive, and so headlights are in our face, in our front window. And maybe you could consider something like that. I don't know how you could control people parking there to go walking or whatever, exercise they do here in the area, but maybe you could just do something simple like extending the fence.
Anything else? I'm getting the impression that kind of the feeling is, yeah, parking stations, a good idea, but we need to refine it. Is that sort of?
And maybe some landscape buffers would reduce some of the noise as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Susan.
Jules Chandler, 3207 Hibiscus Drive West. Council just needs to think about what is in the interest, and I appreciate what you said about the residents, because you're up there to represent the residents, not people who don't live in Bel Air Beach.
Thank you. Someone back there? Yes, sir.
Ditto.
Okay. Thank you.
Here?
Yes.
We talked about this island down by 13th, we talked about traffic lights. I mean, is this all under an umbrella of traffic congestion? I mean, do we need to, and we're going to talk about committees and boards later on, but maybe it's time to spool up a committee to look at all of these issues. Parking, turn lanes, lights. I mean, it all kind of weaves together. I think maybe there's a common thread here.
let's look into, how we might control it, what we might do to make life easier for the people on Cedar Drive.
Is there,
I think is that we would like to do it.
So three things I would probably consider is one, fence, buffer zone. Two is we'll have a signage group to kind of like inhibit that parking area. And three is parking meter, 24/7. Something we want to add.
I think if visitors are coming here to the beach and they know they can park for free here, this will be their primary destination for parking instead of going down to where we have the meters. So I think it's only equitable that we have paid parking here as well. We sort of manage the traffic that way.
The same thing holds true for the bridge walkers, because you get to pay if you park at the marina down there, but if it's free on this end, it's fine to park here. Okay. All right. Good with that? Anything else?
No.
Okay. Consideration of a work session to advise council members on the status of the city boards, committees, and departments.
That's me. In order to practice good governance and overseeing and implementing the delivery of services and programs, the new council members desperately need to be caught up on all information that's relevant to their decision making. So I would like to ask for the consideration of a special work session to be scheduled prior to the next city council meeting. In addition, ask for all the department heads, committee heads, as well as the city attorney and city manager to present a status report. So if we could discuss that, and then I'll move forward towards motion.
Seconded.
Pardon?
Seconded.
Oh.
Let's discuss it, and then I'm putting forward a formal motion.
And I think it makes sense to have a work session to figure out the boards, the committees, et cetera. We don't have that many. Some of that information is on the website.
Wonderful. I think a one-on-one presentation with each person, I think, will give us more insight.
and just FYI, Vice Mayor, I've given you all the current list of board members, their last meeting, along with staff phone numbers and emails. So that's just some information, so you've got a little head start on that.
Excellent, thank you. So I would like to go forward with that. Is there more discussion before I go forward with the formal motion? Okay, so I would like to move to schedule a special work session prior to the next city council meeting and request status reports from all committee heads, department heads, city attorney, and city manager. Now, the status report should include 1, accomplishments, finished and closed tasks for the period ending. 2, goals and objectives for the next updating period. 3, items that are stagnant and cannot be fulfilled. And that's it. Do I hear a second?
Second, I will.
More discussion? Comments from the audience? Pardon?
Thumbs up.
Okay. All right. All in favor of scheduling the work session as described?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Patty will then get something out to everybody with a bunch of possible dates, and we'll try to coordinate where we go from there. Okay? Item number 11, discussion on live streaming of the city council meetings. Yeah,
That would be me again. Again, I think it's very important to be in touch with the residents of Miller Beach. A lot of them are snowbirds, leaving for vacations, 5 o'clock, a lot of people are still at work. So instead of, I think taping it is an absolute necessity, but again, if there's such a lag time, that live streaming, I think, would benefit more residents and getting more involved with City Council in Miller Beach. So, I would like to discuss the live streaming and hopefully Patty maybe get in touch with IT and see if that's possible, which I'm sure it's possible.
We did that for a number of years, and we moved away from it because I don't think we had enough people viewing.
Yeah.
And the cost was a little bit prohibitive at the time.
Right now, I don't think it costs much to live stream on Facebook. It's,
Facebook Live?
yeah, you could do Facebook Live or, you know, YouTube or what's called a Periscope, which is actually pennies. And again, I think it's reaching out. Even if not a lot of people view it, it's again reaching out to the residents that, you know, we want their involvement. I think it builds a better city.
The videos are available on the website.
I know, but I think there's a 2-week or 1 week lag, or is it real time? Are the videos available real time? I don't believe they are.
Vice Mayor, since you asked that to be put on the agenda, I did a little research on it. There's kind of a one-time cost of about $2,000 to $3,000 to get it set up, and then monthly it would cost us an additional $195 to have live streaming. And it would be done with Victor, who does our videotaping. So that's gives you some parameters about the cost to do it.
I think there's a question in the back.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Todd Gould, 2180 Louisa Drive. While there are ways of doing it that cost money, the necessity, what is required to go live on Facebook would be simply taking a feed out of that camera into basically any computer. I believe we do have internet Wi-Fi available here. So really there'd be no cost monthly to do it other than to take the feed that's existing and split it right into a device. And we could have it on Facebook Live.
Then you have to get on Facebook.
Well, again, no cost. There's no cost from Facebook to have a city page on Facebook. You could put this beautiful, possibly future visual seal on the page. And it's something that in addition is people who are watching can actually comment live, which could actually be received here too, if we wanted to go to that next step at a later date, but could actually give a two-way session on that also.
I agree. Maybe Patty can get some information from the IT person, see what cost, or if you want Lynn, what Todd mentioned.
Actually, it's Victor. If
it's Victor. Victor, if you could come up here and give us a little spiel.
Hello, I'm Victor Baranek. Most of you know me. Some of the new council members don't, so I'm just going to introduce myself quickly. I do videos for Town of Reddington Shores, Indian Rocks Beach, City of Bel Air Beach. There's a little bit more involved in live streaming. You could theoretically set up someone's cell phone and then film it, but it's going to look terrible. No one's going to hear it. It's going to be counterproductive. The main thing is you need internet connectivity and then a decent computer to run and process imaging. If you want it to look good, you want it to be at least HD, standard definition's long gone, and the costs mainly are sending the data through a computer that can handle it. So that's the main cost that would be. In fact, the whole setup, if you were to buy it as a city, would be upwards of $5,000–$10,000 in equipment. But I came together with your city manager and put together a proposal of using my equipment, which I would maintain and update. You know, every year you have to have better memory, better RAM as stuff gets better. So that's what I was proposing. But it would be, that would be the way I would recommend doing it. Again, it's not as simple as just hooking up to the camera and it's on Facebook. You have to have a computer that's processing it and putting it out there. So, are there any questions?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Barbaro, 2180 Louisa Drive. I actually hold a master's degree in video production and work actively with the city of Clearwater doing something similar. And it works just fine to have a cellular phone plugging in a simple microphone that we could put somewhere up toward you, and you can hear and see the city council Obviously, without paying for it, we may not see someone close up, but
You get
we
to see
can
people,
get
right?
a visual adult just sitting there, and it would cost absolutely nothing. And as someone from a younger generation living in Miller Beach, it's extremely beneficial to have a live feed and be able to respond. And anywhere in the world I am, I'm able to tune in and see what's going on here in the West.
I mean, I think it would probably be prudent to do something like that. If we get good feedback and, you know, people get involved and engaged, then maybe we can move to a more costlier solution.
I mean, if you go more costlier, obviously what you said, it would be lovely if we could afford that. But if you can't afford it, there's definitely a method that would look
Decent.
definitely decent that we could absolutely do. It would not cost us anything at all. If any one of your cell phones could actually do it, and a microphone is $100.
Maybe we could prototype doing the cell phone version for a month or two and see what kind of feedback we're getting. If people are actually tuning in, if we're getting any comments, and if they're saying, oh, this is really good, but the quality sucks, then we can think about investing money to move forward.
I agree.
If I can respond as well. Sure. And you guys are welcome to do that. That's definitely the cost-effective way to see how things work or how things don't. But I don't know if you've ever seen something on the internet, you download a movie or something, and it's so bad you don't want to watch. I know a lot of towns that do record on their laptop the city meetings. No one watches it because of the quality and you can't hear. And you guys are welcome to try it. I'm just giving you my advice from doing this for many different towns. And I think City of Bel Air Beach was recording internally before I got started with you. And the feedback that they told me was no one watched it, nobody liked it, because it was just a camera in the back doing a general video of the room, and you couldn't hear it, you couldn't see it. There's also a lot of post that goes into stuff. You have to monitor the audio live, but you know, so just food for thought. So thank you.
Thank you. I see two people with hands up.
Jules Chandler, 3207 Hibiscus Drive West. Something council might want to consider when you do something like Facebook is that social media. And due to the sunshine laws, you cannot, none of you would be able to comment. Because if two of you or more are on there, and I don't have to explain it with our attorney here, but I was a victim of cyberbullying on next door neighbor app. So I don't see anything much different happening with Facebook. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Someone right there. All right, let's look at the possibility of doing a test.
I agree.
Like
I'll
as
look at this one.
suggested.
Yeah, we would probably have to work something out with our audio Victor.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll discuss that with him.
See what kind of quality we get for.
Maybe we could call on a resident volunteer, Jennifer, to try her hand at it.
Volunteer?
Did you hear that?
Did you hear volunteer back there?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
She's not answering.
I know.
No, I would say yes, I would give it a try.
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Item 12, nomination and appointment of 2 city council members and 2 residents to the Bellevue Islands Estate Ad Hoc Committee on Undergrounding. With the latest election, we've had a little realignment of some members of this committee. If you've got the information that I guess Lynn put out here, we've got 3 council members, Marvin, Glenn, and Wanda. Do you guys want to stay on the committee as council members, I'm assuming? Okay. And then VJ is a resident, and we have 2 open resident spots. Do you know anyone that you guys would like to volunteer?
Mark Golden would be one.
Okay. Does Mark know you're volunteering?
I hope so.
Yes, he's aware of it.
Okay. Do we have another volunteer?
I've got a nomination, is retired Colonel Rob Reesberg. He is not in the actual BEI area, but he's been interested in this project ever since its inception. And the logic is if there are follow-on areas, he would already have the foot in the door and have the corporate knowledge. He has a lot of experience in project management and dealing with projects. I think he'd be a great.
May I comment something? Jody, I know that Harrison Avenue is very interested in looking at undergrounding. Would it make more sense for you to be on the committee than me?
I would be happy to be on the committee.
I would relinquish my seat to Jody. I think having her there in preparation for Harrison Avenue ramping up would make more sense.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, the name was, who did you just?
That's Rob Riesberg, R-I-S-B-E-R-G.
Okay. Are you volunteering or being volunteered? Sure. Okay. So it looks like now we've got Marv, Glenn, Jody, VJ, and Mark Goldman, and Rob Wiesberg. Do I have a motion to approve that as the ad hoc committee on undergrounding?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now I have you. Number 13, consideration of resolution 2018-07. Bob.
Resolution of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending the defined contribution retirement plan for the city manager of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for a conflicting resolution and establishing an effective date.
I have a motion for resolution 2018-07.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. From council?
Is this is different from the Florida retirement system, right? FRS.
No, yes, it's for the League of Cities retirement.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The background information was very thin on this. I guess when I look at an issue, it would be nice if there was some background information. In other words, what is the old system and why are we changing it in this particular instance? Maybe the old thing that we're changing and the discussion, background information.
Well, I can tell you that the city manager's contracts, there's been 3 of us now, and those contracts have all said that the city manager would be vested in the retirement upon his hiring, his or her. And it states that in the contract, and when I personally contacted the Florida League of Cities, they told me that the city didn't prepare a resolution which really should have been prepared in 2005 when we hired our first city manager. So this is housekeeping to correct that.
So we had a trust agreement that was executed in 2001, but we never had an ordinance for it?
No, it's a resolution.
Oh, a resolution.
Yeah. So this is just correcting what should have been done 13 years ago.
I don't know, 13 years without anyone picking it up.
Well, I wouldn't have picked it up if I hadn't called the Florida League of Cities. Yeah.
Any others from 2005 that we can correct tonight?
Excuse me, sir. Jody, looked like you were going to say something.
No, I think it's fine. I talked to Lynn earlier and got all my questions answered.
Any extra comments from the audience? Questions? Patty, roll.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Section 2, what is the normal procedure for executing a document? When it talks about empowering the mayor of the city of Bel Air Beach the authority to execute such documents and agreements as are required, is that with the backup of the city council, or is that the unilateral authority?
It would be in, so I'd say in accordance with what this resolution is doing.
So if there are documents that have to be executed with Florida League of Cities, this is giving you the authority to sign those.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Okay, so you're just signing and executing the document with the approval of the council. I understand?
Ed, you do roll. Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwer,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Caveras,
Aye.
Mayor Notaro.
Aye. Resolution 2018-07 passes 6-0. Mayor and council comments. We'll start down here, Glenn.
One of the things that brought me to the council was to engender a cultural change, and I'm already seeing it. I've seen more discussion tonight than I've probably seen in months. So, my congratulations, everybody. Also, in the essence of integrity and transparency, I think we'll move forward. The code enforcement is very important. And I think there needs to be a crackdown on that. I think the way to go about doing it, though, is to give fair warning to the residents. Perhaps a letter from the city saying that this is at the top of our priority list, and we are going to crack down on it. The residents know what the codes are. Either they're doing it because they just don't believe they're going to get their wrist slapped, or the fines aren't enough, or whatever. But I think we need to get the message out there and give them fair warning that this is coming. And then there's no argument for it, and we won't see the torch and pitchfork brigade standing at our front door because all of a sudden we turn into a bunch of knuckleheads. So I'm all for cracking down on it and looking at the codes and maybe an ordinance review, but just giving fair warning is the only thing I would say makes sense in this case.
Now, this is something that I think during the election campaign was talked about by a lot of the residents on email, and many of the residents that are here, we talked about code enforcement, beautification of derelict houses, and especially the one on the corner of Gulf Boulevard and Causeway. That's one of the main ones on the south side. But there are many others in the city, and I have a list of various items, notes that I've taken, and at that up-and-coming work session, I'd like to present some of those things and discuss them with everybody so we can get started on correcting these items. Thank you.
Just following through with what Marv was saying, at one time, we were looking into the ability to level derelict houses or abandoned homes. Paul, have you looked at that any further, or where we might?
Yes, I have. I've got the City of Tampa's legislation. The city manager and I have been working with it to see how far we can go to actually declare houses as derelict so you can tear them down.
Excellent, thank you.
Do you know when we can expect to see something on that? I mean, because if we're just looking at some defined dates or days.
I think I sent it. I've already sent it over to the city manager.
I've looked at it, and I think we need to clarify some of that with going forward. As I mentioned before, council meetings, I've said, you know, we need to go through our codes, and I've been trying to do that over the past few months of updating them. So if we're telling someone something, it's correct, as opposed to, well, it says this here and it says this somewhere else. So we'll get on, we'll move that up on the list to do things. Because, I mean, I've got one on the street I live on, so.
And you would have read that bulldozer, right?
Any comments? Other than, okay.
Oh, let me, no, I do have two comments real quick, sorry. Just real quickly, kind of follow, because there's no old business that we can address here, so I'm going to say it now. From the March 5th meeting, there were two items that were kind of left open, or I should say follow-up, and that was the cul-de-sac on Harrison Avenue, what the progress has been on that. And I noticed there have not been any signs installed to deter trucks from driving down the road, or at least let them know that there's no turnaround. So what are we doing there? And then the second item was the web design. The money was authorized to be spent on the new web design, and kind of where do we stand with that? When can we expect to see the first run of the new website? When will it go live? That sort of thing.
Actually, part of that's in my comments, but we'll look further into because we need to get the turn radiuses, and I've got a meeting tomorrow with the fire people about them checking it out, but I think we need to get some engineering, as I mentioned to you today, to find out what those turn radiuses should be on those cul-de-sacs. The web design, I had an initial meeting with them in the last couple of weeks, and they are creating a mock-up. And what this will do basically is give us a look to look at. And then after we look at the mock-up, then we'll go back to them and tell them what we like and don't like. So it's a process. We gave them a 50% deposit, and through that process, we'll make sure the city council's up to date on that. Because we do need to straighten the website out. It's very cumbersome if you're looking for something on there.
Again, can we maybe set a date that we'd like to see?
I'll talk to the web designer and see, when they're.
And then is there a plan to install a sign on Harrison?
Yeah, we'll do something. It'll be something that basically says, no large truck turnaround trailers.
I'm sure FDOT has a standard sign.
Actually, I looked, there isn't anything specific to that, so we're just going to have to create something.
There's also no weight limit signs for the bridge, so we might look at those as well.
Thank you. I would like to thank the residents for coming out today. It's so important to get resident feedback and involvement in order to make substantive changes to the city. My vision of the city is to have a city with benchmarks, goals and objectives, so we can be held accountable. And if we're not doing a good job meeting those benchmarks in a timely fashion, we get held accountable. And that's my vision, and that's what I'm going to move forward with, and hopefully the council supports me on that. But again, thank you for coming out. Changes are coming.
Okay, a couple things. Went to a meeting last week regarding the beach renourishment project, and it's supposed to be starting in April-ish. But this year, they're starting at the south end. In the past, they've always started up by Sandkey Park and moved south. But this year, because of some areas they're doing down there they haven't done before, logistically, it makes more sense for them to start south. So they're probably going to get up to us August. So it's not, we're not on the top of the list, but we are still going to get our sand. Another thing came out from the Big C meeting last week. We talked about those dynamic message board signs that the county wanted to put on Gulf Boulevard. Not going to happen. There were so many cities that said, we don't want them. They said, fine. So they're not getting those. We had Sheriff Baltieri talked at the Big C meeting last week, and their big project right now is getting resource officers into all the schools. The state legislature passed a law that said there has to be somebody in every school by July 1st. They didn't exactly say how we're going to pay for it, but so the sheriff and all the police departments and school boards are doing everything they can to get that in gear. They're also doing a lot to try and prevent these teenage auto thefts. They're, taking steps to hopefully cut those down. So that's about all I've got. Paul?
Mayor, a couple of things. To Mr. Gunn, I suggest that you and the other new members of this council be very, very careful not to start to fine-tune our rental ordinance, set it at 3 months. The minute you touch that ordinance, the minute you amend that ordinance, do anything to that ordinance, it goes out, the state law comes in, and you're not going to like what the state law is. I would suggest you research it to make sure that you don't miscalculate on that particular issue. We purposely didn't touch that ordinance because of the 3 months, and the state mandated a lot less, and I don't think y'all would be very happy with it.
I don't think we'd even consider changing it without legal advice.
Well, I'll tell you, right, don't touch it. My advice to you right now is leave it alone. Don't mess with it. Let's enforce it the way it is. We just need to find better ways to enforce it. I will tell you that Pam Nightingale, the receptionist here in the administration, spends a lot of time on the internet searching out these folks who are leasing their properties for less than 3 months, and then flips that over to Bill White to enforce. And it's not been an easy task because we don't want to take the statutory time to go before the code enforcement master. We want to be able to go before a county criminal judge in order to get the attention of these folks, because you issue a citation to a master, you issue a citation to go before the master, and it's a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months before it happens. That particular incident no longer exists. Now we got a new one. So there's a number of factors you've got to consider in dealing with this. I personally prefer going to the county criminal court under 1-15 and have the county judge issue the maximum fine to these folks. And even then they look at it like it's doing the cost of doing business. But once you start, and I'm looking at something called civil RICO. Once you have 3 predicate acts, criminal acts, there's a very good possibility that we can, and this has happened in a couple of cases, invoke a civil RICO where we could seize the property subject to mortgage.
I think we're in violent agreement. I think we're not ready to go straight to changing the codes. We're looking at enforcing the existing codes, and we really look to you to help us put some muscle behind them.
Well, you said something about reform, ordinance reform, and when you said that word reform, that sounds like amending us with concern.
No, I think the terminology was it's time to go back and review the ordinances to update them for changing norms in the community and demographics and new problems that are a result of unexpected consequences, such as the traffic congestion on Gulf Boulevard.
The other issue is, you mentioned, Mayor, that Bob Gutierrez went before the Big C and talked about the funding he needs. I had breakfast with Congressman Bill Rackus on Wednesday or Thursday rather, and he has introduced a bill in the Congress, in the House, to fund under the COTS Act SROs, and we need 70 funded in Pinellas County. So he's working on it. All of us that are connected with school resource officers are working on it as well. Also, my lovely wife out here, where we had a happy anniversary. This is our anniversary up here. The city council meeting. We're going to be going to Normandy. I've always wanted to go to the Normandy beaches and the memorials and cemeteries there. We've got that scheduled for May. So I'm not going to be here next month, but I'm more than willing to have our associate, Jackie Burchett, sit here with me. I am going to get that Attorney General's opinion out with regard to the seal, because I just found something I didn't mention in the code that's there about it. for next month, unless everybody has an objection. Jackie's out in the audience. The lovely lady right there, Jackie's photo, Butcher.
Good.
I have a really long list, probably longer than all of you together. No. I've given you some stuff at your seat. I gave you a letter from Duke Energy for the cross wires on Gulf Boulevard. I've asked them, we have, this year, we have approximately $1 million and $1,098,000. We're to get another $583,000 next year in the Gulf Boulevard project. And I kind of want some council feedback on, this is to take the cross wires off Gulf Boulevard all the way through the city. And this was a project that was approved in the beautification. The only price I haven't got is from, of course, Spectrum and Wright House, which I'll be working on that. But I've asked Duke to kind of separate this so we could maybe do a good portion of it this year and take that money next year and use it all to clean up the cross wires on Gulf Boulevard, because that was one of the beautification projects. So I'd like some council feedback if that's how you want me to proceed with this.
We only have $1,098,000 left from the 2010 to 2020 beautification.
No, we actually have $1,681,000, but that's through next year. How they broke it out, you get so much money and we roll some over. Out of this money that's already been taken, the wires at the marina, in front of the marina, that ticket has been paid it was $78,000 for Duke, but it was $4,000 for Wright House / Spectrum to take their wire underground across. So that has already been paid to them. That's a project that's ongoing. There's some street light changes in there, which it'll come out of the Gulf Boulevard, which is about another $17,000. So really it's $1,660,000 over the next, this year and next. And if we break this up, we may be able to accomplish this in 2 phases. But we don't have enough to do it this year. But if we can get it broken up to 2 sections.
The way that works is we pay up front, we get reimbursed from
Right.
things for Pinellas.
Right. What I do is I go ahead and pay Duke Energy or Spectrum, and then I submit an invoice immediately because we've already paid for it, and they give it back to us. I think the last one I did was for the beautification things at Morgan Park. We got that back within a couple of weeks after I submitted it. So so far they're prompt payers, so that's good. So we'd be out of pocket for a little while. But that's where that's at. So any feedback? Do you want me to proceed in that way, or?
I got a question. Does Bella Shores chip in for that?
Actually, it's part of their money, but they gave it all to us. That's why we got what we got. And then after 19, there'll be another lot of money that will be pretty much equivalent to what we got this time. And then maybe that's enough to work on the east side of Gulf Boulevard and clean that up.
Is the 2020 to 2030 penny supposed to be allocated for infrastructure, like stormwater and stuff, or?
We're working on that.
Yeah, but there is another.
Getting a little wider
Okay.
area of stuff that you can do. That's
There's
in
more
the
than,
work.
okay.
Yeah, we actually don't have any stormwater on Gulf Boulevard, unfortunately for us. It's the county. So I don't know how much we could accomplish with that unless they let us go internally. Okay, so I'll proceed with that. The Belle Isle drainage project that I've mentioned a couple times, I've got preliminary drawings for that. and I've looked through them, and I'll meet with the engineer on Wednesday. He says he's going to bring me the first street drawings for that drainage project on Wednesday when he comes. And we're working on the seawall design. We've got to get a couple soil borings for Belle Isle, and I've already ordered them. So as soon as we get that, then we can move forward with that project. I gave you also tonight, people had asked about various costs for various playgrounds, so this is just something for you to take with you. You can go from $5,000 to $10,000 to $100,000 for playgrounds. Typically, the cost you see there, that's the cost for the equipment, and typically it's twice that for, it's the same amount again for installation and delivery and freight. That's typical. So that's just for your information. There's nothing to do on that tonight. The garden club, Bel Air Beach Ladies Garden Club, or I shouldn't say ladies, but the Bel Air Beach Garden Club is interested in donating some funds for the park out here. I had a discussion with one of the members and told her that the city council was looking at some things. They talked about planters, benches, what have you. So that's just some more information. I gave you a copy of the assessment area. This came from the county. It's a map. They're working on the assessment roll to update that. And to continue that, Chris Rowe has got a tentative court date for the week of May 21st for the undergrounding validation, bond validation. And he says currently the judge that's been assigned is Jack Day, and it'll be in Pinellas, and he's going to get back to me on what we need to do as a city. I know I'll have to go, and I don't know if he'll want other people to go, but we'll go from there. He said it will be sometime the week of May 21st. So that's the latest and greatest on that. It's all been filed.
Then before we move off of that general area, is the solar pilot light in place now?
No, the company's been hired, and I'm hoping to have them out here this week. They told me it would be within a couple of weeks. They're going to put it there at 22nd Street, and we'll at least have that out there and done. Going back to the undergrounding, a few of the residents that are in the Island Estates area have asked about, can they go ahead and get their utilities underground from their house to the road? And I know I spoke to Councilmember Gunn about that, and I don't really see it as a big issue if they want to do that, but I think at some point in time we need to tell them if anyone else calls and wants to do that. We'll be sending out invoices and the assessment roll sometime in July. So I think that's kind of got to be the drop dead date for that. So if anyone there wants to do that at this point, Tom Farrar called me and said it was going to cost him like $1,600 if he went through and did it himself. So could be some cost savings, and they won't be assessed a greater amount. Don't forget the garage sale this Saturday. If you haven't signed up, please call Pam. The city staff is going to be doing some palm tree trimming. We've got a lift out here, and we're going to start, actually the palm trees on the bridges, we're going to trim them up, and then do the parks and some other things that we need to do internally. So if you see a bunch of palm fronds pop up, they'll go away. Just we've got to do a little bit at a time. And our CRS recertification is due by May 1st. That's our flood insurance discount, and we got notification of that. And I attended a meeting or a educational thing last week about that, and so there's some things that we've got to turn in. And flood facts went out in the mail today, so the residents are getting them. If there's anything else for me?
Did you say the flood maps?
Flood facts went out.
What about the mapping? Did they raise the FEMA level? Is that going to affect our
Well,
insurance?
actually, the preliminary maps, in a lot of areas, we have a lot of 8010s and stuff like that. They went to, in the preliminaries, if they stay the same, they went to 88s, which is a good thing. They're supposed to be coming out with some more information in the May, June timeframe. FEMA's remapping Pinellas County, so, and they had a meeting here, I think it was November, December, we had that meeting, and saw these preliminaries, but that's still subject to change. So, you know, I know where I live, it dropped from a 10 to an 8, so that's a good thing. So, that's it.
Here? Have we heard anything more on this Smart Street stuff? I mean, we haven't heard anything, and that's kind of concerning me that this Smart Street, because we're going to narrow.
Oh, the complete streets.
Complete street or something.
Well, I know that several, I think Bel Shore told them they didn't want it. I know the Bluffs has told them they don't want it. So maybe we can do a resolution at next month's meeting saying, we're not real happy about it. I think the one from the Shore, Bel Shores did, put our 2 cents in. I mean, I've gone to several meetings and I said,
There was an article in the Bee recently where Blanton said that they were tabling it because they were.
no one wanted it.
That's just. I think we still should do the resolution.
Pardon?
I think we should still do the resolution.
Okay. All right.
We just plan on doing a resolution next month.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's all that's on the agenda. I just want to recognize our former vice mayor and his wife, the Sofers. Nice to see you guys. It's been a while. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Feel free to stay.